Close that down. Right. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the 9th of February. I'm going to be talking through the latest AI news of the day. Nope, that is untrue. I'm not going to be doing that, so I'm going to redo the introduction. I'm going to be doing something else because there isn't much news. Unusually, because we had so much news last week. This week is relatively quiet, so I'm going to be doing something different. So let's redo that. First, so I just saw somebody said, why are you moving to Cyprus? The weather. A couple of reasons. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this. So a couple of reasons. One, the weather. So I live in the UK, and the UK is... I think I get affected by seasonally affective disorder. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but basically I think it's vitamin D levels and not seeing much of the sun has a very detrimental effect on my mood. So for winter, I just feel a bit crap, basically. As soon as spring, summer comes along, I feel absolutely fine. But winter is hard and not very pleasant. So I try to travel as much as possible during winter. Normally I'm away in Asia or somewhere warmer. This year, though, I've been here a lot more and kind of had enough. So weather is a huge factor. I just like being able to go outside and for it to be warm and to be able to go for a hike and go swimming. And it just has so many knock-on effects on the rest of your life, being able to go outside and to enjoy the weather. So this month, or the last month or so, has been the wettest in the UK for I think 150 years, which is not great. And the whole of last week, I kept trying to go outside and it's just pissing down every single day. So that certainly does have effect. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is a big one, which is tax. The tax bill I'm paying, or have started to pay, I paid it last week, was bigger than, twice as big as the average UK salary, and that's just my tax bill, which I don't mind paying tax. It's just I don't see where it is going and if it's being used very well. Unfortunately, I live in a place where there are potholes in my road, and well, it's not just that, but I just don't see the money being spent very well. And that comes back a little bit to the AI Skills Hub, which I've been dumping on for the last week. Sorry for anyone who did work on this. I've been a bit mean to it. But this AI Skills Hub from our government, which costs £4 million of taxpayers' money, which is absolutely terrible. And I've been rebuilding this in my spare time for fun and doing it better because I see a lot of money being thrown away. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of governments do this as well, but I would like to be able to actually maintain or hold more of my cash so that I can buy a property, because despite being in the top percentage of earners in the UK, I cannot buy a house in London. Something a bit weird there. So I'm literally in like top 1 or 2% of income, but I cannot just buy a house in London because the house prices and the cost of living is just so out of whack with what we earn. And even as somebody who runs a business, I'm not able to purchase a house with stairs, and that just seems a bit weird to me. And I'd like to settle down and have a family, and for that to happen, I would like to be in a place where I am not too worried about money, and that is very difficult when you're living in London. A lot of people are surviving, they're not thriving, and things don't seem to be getting any better anytime soon. So that's one of the big reasons for moving as well. And then why Cyprus? Yes, tax is a big deal, but also my partner is Cypriot. So that is the main reason. There is family that we're going to be near. So that's why, well, it's not the only reason why not Dubai. But if it was purely for tax, it would be somewhere like Dubai. I have no interest in living in Dubai. Sorry, no shade on anyone who does go there, but I just have no interest. Whereas Cyprus, we have family there, so it makes a lot of sense. So there's a whole bunch of different factors which make it a sensible decision right now. But no, it's not just tax avoidance. I know some people will go for that. It's because there's family there. It's family there, and right now in Cyprus it is 19 degrees, whereas here it is raining and dark and grey and terrible. So a couple of reasons. It's also a lovely place, honestly. Come to the Maldives. So Maldives is a bit too far. So I've lived, throughout my 20s, I've lived outside of the UK. I lived in America for, I want to say 4 or 5 years. I lived in China for 2 or 3 years. I lived in Vietnam for about 3 years. I set up my first business there, TV station in Vietnam. So I've lived all over the world before, mainly in Asia and America. The problem with that is it's a long way. Like when I lived in China, getting to China takes I mean, I think the direct flight is 10 hours or so. It's just a long way if you want to come back and forward for meetings, if you want to see family, etc. It's very difficult. If not for the family connections here in London, I'd probably be living in China. And I have lived in China before, but Cyprus is a lot closer. It's 4 hours flight, and the flight to Cyprus costs less than it does to get a train to go and visit my dad in the north of England. I can fly to Cyprus for €50, whereas getting a train here is going to cost me more than that. So there's a lot of reasons, basically. Yeah, the low tax is a bonus. So I've got a friend, Oli Lerman. He's written about this. You should check out his stuff. So he, sorry, Oli, I'm sure I just butchered your surname. He talks a lot about relocating. So he relocated and had a family in Cyprus, but he's now moving back to Germany for, well, he talks about it in great detail. I won't be able to find the post, but he says that moving to some place just for tax is a stupid idea because there's so much more to life than that. So if you just move to a location in order to save on tax, you are kind of shortchanging yourself. You need to be going there because you like the lifestyle, because you're surrounded by people who will be supportive, and that there are things you can do, activities, etc. You need to have all of that as well. So just living in a place for the tax is kind of a dumb move, and I fully agree with him too. So that's not the reason. It is a nice bonus, absolutely, but there are many, many other reasons as well as that. Yeah, and Solio says, makes sense, you work online remotely. That's the thing. If I have my laptop, I can work from anywhere. So generally each year I spend 2 or 3 months traveling anyway, mainly in Asia. And if I have my laptop, I can continue to work. It doesn't matter to me. So being in a country like the UK, where we have a relatively high tax, especially for a business like mine, which is pretty much all profit because it's online, you get taxed on profit. It's not the best setup. Whereas you can live in a cheaper country with a less oppressive tax regime and maintain more of the wealth as well. So this year I lost like 50-60% out to the taxman. Some of it is this something called Section 455, which is a withholding tax. When you, I won't go into the details, it's very boring, but when you hold over a certain amount of directors' loans, you get taxed on your directors' loans, how much over you are. So you get taxed about 33%. So I was hit with an additional, like, I think it was £15,000 or £20,000 tax, which I did not know was coming, which will be returned to me when I pay off my director's loans within the company. But to be told, oh, you owe us an extra 20 grand, it was just a bit of a shock. And that was actually the final straw. The final thing that was like, well, I don't, why do you think I just have 20 grand sitting around? That's a mad amount of money. And HMRC were like, oh no, it's fine, we'll give it back to you when you pay off the rest of it. It's like, but you want me just to find 20 grand? Okay. I mean, I found it, but it's still, that was the final straw, honestly, was the surprise of having to find nearly £20,000 to give to HMRC a few weeks ago. User says, I'm genuinely anxious and overwhelmed by the speed AI is developing, scary for generalists like me. That's fair. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, this is what everybody is feeling right now. It is overwhelming. There's a guy called Andrei Karpathy. Let me bring this up because I think this is good to remember. So Andrei Karpathy, I pull this up a lot. If you guys have seen me on lives before, you know I love this tweet. Let me, I should be able to find it. Overwhelmed. Let's see if, nope. Well, I know when it was. It was on the 26th of December. So I'm going to go quickly back through Karpathy's tweets, because if you're feeling overwhelmed, this is really good. Here we go. Should be here. So Andrei Karpathy is the guy who co-created ChatGPT. He's a very smart guy, and he knows about artificial intelligence. He created ChatGPT. So he says, I've never felt this much behind as a programmer. The profession is being dramatically refactored as the bits contributed by the programmer are increasingly sparse and in between. I have a sense I could be 10 times more powerful if I just properly string together what has become available over the last year or so. And a failure to claim the boost feels decidedly like a skill issue. So this is a guy who built ChatGPT, co-created ChatGPT, he is feeling overwhelmed by the speed at which artificial intelligence is progressing. You're not alone. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like it's too fast, if you feel like you can't keep up with what is going on, don't worry. Everybody's feeling like that right now, including the people who make this stuff. So what I would say is I've built something called the levels of AI. Where is it? Should be here. If you go to resources, should be here. Oh, I've got a few things. The Ultimate AI Learning Guide, which has a bunch of resources to build a foundation, but also something called the levels of AI. So this helps you work out where you are with AI and where you need to get to. You don't need to get all the way to the end. You don't necessarily need to be reading machine learning research papers. You don't need to be building your own models from scratch, etc. But instead, you need to work out what kind of level, what kind of things do you want to do with AI, and then focus your attention, focus your learning, focus that your anxiety that you have right now on getting to that level and not worry about everything else. This also means focusing on what is important to you. So for me, video, image, and music AI is not particularly interesting. That is not something that I'm focused on. I'm focused on helping people use AI in their business or to start a business. So for me, that allows me to tune out a huge amount of noise. I know that I'm at a certain level, I want to get to another level, and that I'm focused on a specific type of AI, which is to do with kind of business automation, business ideation, how you can make money using artificial intelligence. That's my focus, which means when a new video model comes out or new image model, most of the time I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't care. That is not my focus. So this is a really useful way to come at artificial intelligence because AI itself is broad. It's like saying, I'm going to learn the internet or I'm going to learn computers. It's too much. It's too big. So you need to focus in on what is actually important to you. And that depends on what you want to do. You said that you're a generalist. If you are a generalist, AI is fantastic. AI is a real problem if you are a specialist because a lot of your specialities are being blown out of the water. Being a specialist is no longer very helpful. Being a generalist who can orchestrate and conduct lots of AIs working for you puts you in a really, really, really good position. So I would say I would worry more if I was a specialist. If I had spent a decade honing a skill, that puts me into a very kind of narrow box, I'm pigeonholed. And if and when AI takes that skill, if it becomes as good at that skill as I've spent 10 years working on, that's the ball game for me. What else can I do? Whereas if you're a generalist, you're much better at seeing the larger picture. You're building systems, building businesses, which is basically a system, and then bringing all these pieces together. So being a generalist right now is pretty exciting. I consider myself a generalist because the specialists are more at risk from AI disruption. You're missing some levels, to be honest. Nothing there about enterprise, architectural, governance. Again, I'm not particularly fussed about governance, etc. Enterprise and architecture would be at the top. So that would be, actually, it's not in the chart, but that would be level probably 5 or 6 on building. Oh no, probably level 7. But yeah, though this is not complete. This is just one conceptual model of the levels of AI. Jesse, I'm moving to Cyprus. I just talked about the reasons why. I won't reiterate it, but it will be in the YouTube video. But a couple of reasons. Weather. Okay, to preface it, I've lived outside of the UK most of my life, so this is not that abnormal for me. I've been in the UK for the last 8 years or so, which for me is a very long time. So I'm just kind of leaving again. But a couple of reasons. Weather. Tax is a big deal, and being able to run my business remotely from elsewhere is very possible, and also family as well. So a couple of reasons. No, sorry, I missed it. Congrats. Yeah, check out I talked about it in a lot of detail, so check out the video when it's on YouTube, so I don't bore other people by going back through it again. But it's a few different things, of which tax is a big one, but not the main thing. Right. Okay, I'm going to hop into the actual topic of today, which is connected to a few things that have just been mentioned. So today I want to talk about Actually, pull up Kit Saer. So Kit Saer, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Sorry, Kit Saer. Today we're going to be talking about a topic of building a business using artificial intelligence and why you kind of need to get a move on with it. So Kit Saer put out this tweet. This was earlier today, saying, "I don't know who needs to read this, but stop asking people for permission to build something. Hell, I'm getting lots of DMs of people texting me their products instead of publishing them directly. I've made this mistake in the past so many times. Just ship it, for fuck's sake. The window is closing." So I'm much smaller as a creator in the space than Kit Saer, but I get the same thing. I get lots of people in my DMs, in my email saying, "Hey, would you like to work on something together?" Or "I've come up with a great idea. Would you like to hear about my idea?" To all of these people, I say, "Cool, send me a link." And 80-90% of people out there are like, "Oh, well, I haven't actually started it. Or I don't have a link, or I've got some notes, or should we talk about it first, and then I'll get building." And I say to them, "No, I say this politely. I basically say, no, I'm not interested. Come back to me when you have a link, and then we can talk." There is no excuse now to not build something. Previously, whenever I talked to people who wanted to start a business, entrepreneurs, etc., for years and years and years, the block was always the technical. I don't know how to build a website, or I don't know how to build an app, or there's actually some complicated database stuff. So first I need to raise £100,000 and then I can hire a developer who will do all of that stuff. That's gone. All of those excuses have gone. So when I get DMs from people saying, "I have an idea," with all due respect, I don't care. You have to build something and then bring me the thing that you have built, and then I can look at it and see if it works or not. And it's also if you haven't bothered to build something using vibe coding, which makes it really easy now, that also tells me that you're not going to bother putting in the work to make this into a real thing. So that's from my personal experience. But Kit says something very similar, which is literally, let's stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for somebody. As you know, I've been dumping on this AI skills hub from the UK government. You've probably seen my videos about it. This website costs £4.1 million. They did not create any of their own content. These is just a directory of links. So this is linking you to some Microsoft courses. The courses are fine, but the government website is just a directory of links. That is it. They did not build the website. The website is built on Envision Community, which is this off-the-shelf service, which costs, let me pull it up, $89 a month, or a couple of $100 a month. Again, they got £4.1 million to build this. So this here, $1,000, that is 0.018% of the budget, 0.018%. So 0.02% of the budget could have been spent on building it. So I've been dumping on this website, I think for good reason, because it is terrible and it's a waste of money. I've had a lot of people in my comments say, "Oh, well, you should write to the government and you should tell them, or you should write to your MP, or make sure Peter Kyle, the head of whatever it is, the science department, knows about this, or you should write to journalists, and you should do a Freedom of Information Act." This is all great stuff. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Instead, I'm going to rebuild it. I've already started to rebuild this from scratch because I don't need permission. I don't need to go to a government. I don't need to talk to journalists about this. I don't need to file a Freedom of Information. And none of you guys do either. If you wanted to build a project, if you wanted to create something, just do it. Like the barriers have been removed. And there is a short period of time where you should, and it's happening right now, you need to be building and launching something, because it's going to get harder in the future when other people realize this. And this is why I'm being a bit hard on everybody here. There is a short period of time when you guys who are watching this, you guys who are reading my newsletter, coming on the lives, watching social media, thinking about AI on a daily basis, there's a short period in which you can build something before the rest of the world realizes, like, oh, I can just build that. You are ahead of the curve, like massively on this one. Let's head over to Levels. So this is Peter Levels. I will work a regular job for some years and then make a SaaS on the side. And he's saying that is I'm not going to say the word, but he's saying that is a less than intelligent approach right now. And he says, the question is, do you have the time to wait a few more years before starting a business? I don't believe in scarcity normally, but it might it might be time to really go for it now, considering all things AGI. If we do get to artificial general intelligence, it's going to be really hard to carve out a space for yourself. And now is the time to move, to build a business, to build a product, to launch something into the world, start getting distribution, start getting customers, start getting revenue in, so you can continue to scale before AGI and before everyone else realizes. And you do not need to wait for permission from somebody. There was another thing that triggered this for me, which was because I'm moving away, I'm moving to Cyprus. I'm currently in the process of selling a bunch of stuff on eBay, mainly board games. Got a bunch of board games here and some books that are worth some money. And to do this, I've built an automation for myself where I can take a photo of the item, or I can just type in the name of the item and it will go off, the AI will go off, find the price of the item, how much I can sell it for secondhand from various sources, and write me descriptions for eBay. Nice and simple. And then it dumps it all into a Google Sheet. So I built this for myself just as a quick time-saving thing. Lots of people are like, oh, can you release that? Or could you build it? Or will you turn this into a product? The answer to all of this is no. I'm not going to do this. It's a personal thing for me. But I said in another video, I was like, but one of you guys should. If you think this is a good idea, take the idea and run with it. Like, absolutely build a business out of this, because it looks like a lot of people in the comments are saying, oh, this would be useful. That is your sign to be like, oh, shit, maybe I should quickly jump on this and build this. And you could have a prototype working by the end of today. This is not a thing that's going to take months. You could build an automation where you take a photo of an item, it identifies the item using AI, very simple nowadays. It runs off and sends out little agents to find out how much you can sell it for on various websites, ABE Books, eBay, Gumtree, whatever it's called, Facebook Marketplace. It goes off, boom, 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 grabs that information, and then uses other listings plus research to pull together a listing for you, and then pushes to the API on eBay. It could even publish for you into draft, boom, you click and you're done. That's something that can be built in a day. And you have a certain amount of product value, market validation from people in my comments, at least saying, oh, I'd love this. This would be really useful. So I'm saying I'm not going to build this. Somebody should run and build this. Don't wait for permission. And don't write to me and say, hey, do you want to build it together? Because no, I don't. Again, just build this stuff. So what I wanted to do was kind of talk about how you get something built ASAP, because the window is going to be closing. And so even I feel like, oh God, I don't have much time. I need to build. So I'm going to quickly run through how you can validate an idea, and how you know that you're building something that is worthwhile, because we want to reduce the frustration as much as possible. So this is based off a free playbook, which is on my website. So if you go to aiwithkyle.com and you go to courses and you go to AI business course from curious to confident, you can find it in here. This is totally free. You can get this on the website. We're just going to be running through week 1, which is working out what your niche is, and working out not necessarily what your product's going to be, but what area you build your product in. Super, super important. More important than the actual product itself, because you're going to try lots of different things. But we'll get to that in a minute. Just going to hop over to some questions and then I'll jump into this. What kind of stupid government is doing? Yeah, I mean, this is not just the UK government. I think a lot of them are wasteful. What annoyed me about this website is they spent £4.1 million on it. They gave it to PwC, which is a huge company. PwC purchased an off-the-shelf framework that they spend, I don't know, $1,000 on a month, $1,000 a year on, and then they pull together some resources and they're like, boom, cool, give us the 4 million. That's what annoys me. But it's not just the UK government. I'm sure there's a lot of waste everywhere. What do you think about selling digital products on Gumroad? It's fine. That is just a distribution method. So first you need to work out what you're selling. How you distribute it is less important than what you are distributing. So you need to work out your market first. So Gumroad itself is literally just a platform. So it's a bit like saying, oh, how is it selling products using Stripe? It's like, yeah, it's fine, but it's a tool to get the job done. So we need to instead work out what we're going to sell, who we're going to sell it to. That's the important part. I have zero experience. Should I start with Sabrina? Yes, Sabrina's got some wonderful stuff. It depends what you want to do. If you want to learn AI, or you want to start a business, or if you want to create images, like, it depends on what you want to use AI for. There's going to be different people. Generally, though, I rate Sabrina a lot, and Nate B. Jones, who you probably know as well. Do you offer any consultancy? No, not to individuals. I do not. To companies sometimes, but I try not to. Can you help getting Claudebot or OpenClaw? Yeah, I've written a guide. It's on my website. You can go to AI with Kyle. Scroll down to resources at the bottom somewhere. And there is a Claudebot. No, there isn't. Okay, I will add it. I think it might be on Maltbot. AI with Kyle. There we go. aiwithkyle.com/OpenClaw. There's a whole guide about how to set up Claudebot, OpenClaw, whatever you want to call it, including my recommendation, which uses a VPS, but a bunch of other ways. You can use AWS, you can use a UTM, you can use another computer, you can buy a Mac Mini, you can use an old laptop, you can use Raspberry Pi, etc. Lots of different ways to do it, but I have written some guides for you so you can get started. Oh, where's the guide gone? So it's been updated a bit. There should be a longer form guide here, which has disappeared. So I will add that back in. If all of that sounds terrifying and you don't know what a VPS is, you don't know what a Docker container is or what a virtual machine is, don't bother with OpenClaw right now because it's too risky. My mum asked me the other day, she's like, oh, how do I set up Claudebot? And my answer was, don't do that. Absolutely not. I want to learn AI to make serious money. Awesome. We'll talk about that in a minute. Cool. So I'm going to run through this part of the playbook. So finding your first $1,000 niche. So we're going to find a little small niche that can make you $1,000 a month first, and then we build up from there. So we're not trying to build $1 billion company out of the gate. Not even trying to build $1 million company out of the gate. First, we need to make some money, and $1,000 a month is a nice, easy place to start, and it's very, very doable. So first up, we need to find a niche. We're not necessarily looking for your business idea. We're not jumping straight to that. In fact, we are going out of our way to avoid doing that. A lot of people start with an idea they think is cool and something that they would love to see. We're not going to do that. We're instead going to find a market first and then build something for that market. This is probably the most important flip that you can make in entrepreneurship, is stop building stuff you think is cool. So just because you think it would be a great idea and you would really love something that did XYZ does not mean that's good business. And I see so many people go wrong with this, that they will build something that they think is really cool and they're really passionate about, and then they take it out to market and nobody gives a damn. That's because they started with themselves rather than thinking about their customers. Wrong way to do it, because you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to your customers. So this is so fundamental. And it also means that ignore things like follow your passion. It's a dumb piece of advice. Like if I was following my passion, I would be playing video games. Is that going to make me any money? No, probably not. So it's just because you're really into something is not enough. Yes, you need to be interested enough in that topic. You need to be interested enough so that you are happy to build and you're happy to work in that area for maybe 12 or more hours a day, because you get excited about it, but it does not need to be your passion. Like, it's just a dumb way to start a business. So the market does not care about you. It does not care about what you want to do. It does not care about your passions or your interests. It cares about what can fix its problems, what can help the people, what will they buy that will make their life better in some way. And they're thinking about themselves. So remember that your customers are thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you. They do not care what you think. They do not care what your passions are. So we have to start there. So what we do is we don't start with, oh, I had a cool idea. we start with the markets first, work out underserved markets that we can look into, then we come up with business ideas. So if you actually look at the 10-week course I put together, week 3 is the business idea. You would have thought we work out our business idea up front, but no, we deal with that in week 3. So first we work out the market. Second, we start to talk to that market. We start to get in conversation using content. Third, once we have talked to enough people, we then come up with the actual business idea. So we do it later than you'd think. So I'm going to quickly run through a couple of ways that you can work out your market. So there's 5 different things, and we're going to filter down step by step by step. So we're going to start wide, and we're going to cut down until we are honed in on a particular niche. So the first day is going to be discovery. We're going to go wide across a whole bunch of different industries, a whole bunch of different markets. We're then going to narrow it down and look at particular problems and specifically clusters of problems within your market. We're then going to work out within these problems and within these companies, what can we fix? So we've found some problems. What can we actually fix? And then we're going to work out how we can fix it specifically with artificial intelligence. So if the problem to fix whatever a competitor lacks is, oh, I need a team of 100 researchers, or I need to be able to build data centers, stuff like that. We're going to ignore that. We're going to fix problems that are really easy to fix with artificial intelligence, which is relatively simple to do, thank God. So first up, day 1, we're going to hunt for a boring idea. We're not going to chase something in a sexy market. We're not going to follow whatever somebody's telling us on Twitter. We're not going to follow some broccoli head boys TikTok saying that, oh, this is the industry you need to get into. We're going to find something very, very boring where people are willing to pay us money. Most of the money comes from boring problems from businesses, B2B, not from sexy B2C business to consumer problems. If you are charging somebody $10 a month for a subscription from a consumer, it just takes a long time before you can build up to $1,000 a month. Whereas if you sell to businesses, you can very easily sign your first contract at $1,000 a month, probably more. It'll be more than that. But what we're going to do is we're going to use a prompt like this. We will use it in an agent. So I'd recommend using something like Manus, but you could also put it into the deep research modes in ChatGPT, or my favorite, Claude, and it's going to go off and do the research for you specifically. So it's going to look for boring businesses rather than exciting things. So it's not going to be things like AI for artists. I see so many people in this section. They're like, oh, I built this cool tool for artists. Artists don't have any money. Do you want to make money? Sell to people who have money. Very basic. Less interesting, less sexy, less fun. Yeah, sure. But if you want to make money, if that's your first priority with building a business, sell to people who already have money. Sell to industries where they have money. It's much easier getting paid by accountants and lawyers and professions like that who have disposable income than it is selling to individual people who are artists. For example, I'm not dunking on artists, but they do have less money than lawyers. So we're going to find boring markets. We use an AI to go out and do the agentic work for us, so you don't need to do it yourself. Use a deep research model, and that's going to help you come up with a few different businesses you can focus on. What you're going to do, though, is you're going to give it your background, your work experience, because ideally it's something that you have knowledge of, industries that I have knowledge or connections to, and then you're also going to give it a few industries that you're interested in. So you might be like sports and consulting and medicine, whatever. You're going to give it a couple of seed industries, which helps it kind of hone in on the type of industries that you're interested in. So 5 markets that interest me, even if they seem random. And then it's going to search for market opportunities that match my background, focusing on markets where businesses have expensive problems, communities where people actively complain about time-consuming tasks, evidence of current spending on solutions, growing trends in Google Trends, active discussions on Reddit, etc., etc. And the agent's going to go off and do that work for you. Again, this is why starting a business nowadays is a lot easier. If you have the right prompts like this and you have the right tools like Manus, like ChatGPT, Deep Research, like Claude, Deep Research, it can go off and do this work for you. So that's where we start. And that is going to give us a handful of boring industries. It's going to specifically avoid exciting things like, crypto, social media, the kind of hot things that you see that are pushed down your throat all the time, they tend to be the ones that we want to stay away from. We want to find boring industries. Once we have found that, we're going to move on to part 2. Again, this is all free in the guide. You can go to aiwithkyle.com and to find this course. Let me pull up part 2. Again, we're going to use another prompt, but let's see what the prompt is. What we want to do is we want to find complainers. We want to find markets where people are bitching and whining about current products, about current problems inside of their industry. We're looking for people who are going into forums, going onto social media, going onto websites, hell, even writing whole blog articles about how terrible things are and how difficult their work is. This is what we're looking for. And we're not just looking for individual problems, not just one person whining. We're looking for kind of constellations or clusters of problems that all come together. And again, AI is very good at this because we can send it off agentically to go and find these problem clusters. So, for example, a scenario might be an estate agent. Here we go. So you might be chatting to a friend. This is an anecdotal example, but you might be chatting to an estate agent who's moaning, and they say that property descriptions take 2 hours to write and to create and take photos, etc. Solicitors don't call back, and vendors are delusional. So this is a bunch of problems that are all clustered together, which are all specific to estate agents. What we want is to find industries and markets where there are lots of problems that we can solve. It's a stocked pond. We're not looking for an industry where there is one big problem. If there's one big problem, yeah, maybe you can solve that, but what are you going to do after that? We are looking for industries where moaners hang out, where there are a lot of people moaning, because the more moaners there are, the more problems there are, the more they bitch and whine, the more money we can make. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And again, we use this AI prompt. So we give it the market, or one of the markets from our previous prompt, and it's going to do research on Reddit, forums, industry publications, Twitter, look for problems and complaints in this market, find discussions from the last 6 months, so we don't want things from 10 years ago, and then identify problem patterns and connections, use these specific tactics, so search for things like typical day, my workflow, search for words like rant, vent, frustrated, is it just me? So we're looking for people who are moaning. Look for high engagement posts with emotional language. Search for posts like workaround or hack, because that shows people, let's say they're using Salesforce, for example, in the real estate industry, and they can't add product listing, what they called property listings. For whatever reason, they might have come up with a workaround. That I don't know if that's true, but you look for wording like that, like my hack for how I deal with, etc., etc. We use this AI agent to pull in all these problem clusters and to help us form them into a more ordered document. So how problems connect with one another, how much are they moaning about this? Is this kind of a common occurrence, like a daily, monthly thing? And what's the emotional intensity? And we're going to do this for each of our potential markets. So first we might have 3 to 5 markets. We're going to run this analysis and see which of the markets is the most complainy, because we want more complaints. From there, we're going to dig in and find out what these specific complaints are, and reviews are really good for this. So you're going to find existing products. Again, we use AI to find products in the market, in this particular industry. We're then going to pull all those reviews in. You can generally just copy paste them all in, or if it's a huge one, you can scrape them in. So you can scrape in all the reviews from, let's say, Capterra. So Capterra Scraper, for example. So let's say there's a product in your industry that people don't really like. We can pull in thousands of reviews from it using Capterra, and that's pretty cheap. Let's see, I don't know how much it is. Oh no, it's $40 a month. There'll be cheaper ones for sure. There's loads of Capterra ones here. So we're going to go in and grab a bunch of reviews of different products inside of your industry. You can do it manually, or you can scrape it. What we are looking for, we don't care about the 1 stars, and we don't care about the 5 stars. Those tell us very little. When somebody's given 5 stars, it's generally just like 5 stars, great, I love it. Okay, fine. That gives us nothing. That gives us nothing to work on. 1 stars are equally useless, because generally 1-star reviews are written by somebody who is has an axe to grind, somebody who is pissed off for some reason. They've got overly emotional, and generally their feedback, their review is going to be very unhelpful. It's going to be overly negative. It's going to be overly aggressive. They'll be calling people out by name. It will just be too messy. It's too noisy because it's too emotive. It's connected to them too much. What we really like are the 3- and 4-star reviews, because at this point, when you write a 4-star review, you have to actually think like, oh, okay, I'm going to give them 4 stars. I'm not going to give them 5 stars because, and there'll be a couple of reasons why. Somebody who gives a 4-star review, not a 5-star review, has done it consciously. Same with 3-star. Like, why would somebody sit down and give a 3-star review? They're okay with it, but they're not, they don't hate it, nor do they absolutely love it. So they kind of fall in the middle. And these reviews also tend to write the most thoughtful analysis. So the star rating itself doesn't really give us anything, but the written review gives us information. So we can look at the language, we look at the problems they bring up, we can look up the kind of frustrations that they've run into, and all of that is an absolute goldmine for our research. So we're looking for 4 gaps in particular, like feature gaps, price gaps, service gaps, and market gaps. So once again, I've written you a prompt which will go ahead and do all of this for you. Let's have a quick look at it. You are competition analysis researching software in your market space. I need to understand what solutions exist and where they fall short. Research current solutions by finding the top 5 to 10 competitors, checking their websites, pricing, features, etc. Read customer reviews on G2, Capterra, Trustpilot, Reddit. Look for complaints in forums and social media. Oh, this is gathering more information. Important. Focus on 3 to 4-star reviews. Ignore 1 and 5-star reviews. And then for each competitor, tell me, what do they do? Pricing, what customers say, specific improvements customer wants, features people request but don't get. My God, that's such a good one. You'll often find forums where people are, there'll be feature requests and they'll be saying, can you add this? Can you add this? And companies might not do it for years and years. Do it. That's a gap you can come into. Identify gaps across all competitors, like features that nobody offers, price points nobody serves, customer segments everyone ignores, etc., etc. So again, we use an AI agent to go and do the research for us and to bring back the findings. Then we're finally getting there. Once we've done all this research, we've done this across multiple industries, potential markets that we want to look into. We've done this, we've looked for pain clusters. So we're looking for an industry that has a lot of different problems. And then once we've found an industry that has a lot of different problems, we're going to dive in and look at the reviews, find what people are saying, find what people are missing, what would they like, using 3 to 4-star reviews. And then we're finally going to pull all this together and be like, okay, what are we going to do about it? Is there something that we can build here to improve and to help these people who are bitching and whining? Because we love complaints, and that's where we make money. So we need to find our wedge. How are we going to get into it? Now, right now, the wedge is your ability to enter a market and use artificial intelligence to disrupt. So you're looking for something that is very easy to build. You shouldn't have to recreate a CRM. You shouldn't have to recreate whole supply chains to get this done. We're looking for something like low-hanging fruit, basically. When people are complaining about something and you look at the reviews and you're like, what? That's dumb. That's easy to fix. So for something like this, the catalog, again, I've been complaining about this, so I'm rebuilding it. This government catalog, very basic things like you can't access it until you give an email address. Kind of annoying. I don't know why they do that. Why can this not just be an open directory? So the version I'm building, open directory. So people can come onto it. If you want, you can sign up and then you can track your progress. Even that, I don't know if that helps. The only reason they're collecting emails on this website is so that they have more information about who's using it. They are, as the builder, as the provider, they want to have email addresses. They want for their purposes, not for the end users, for the people who are using it. So in this case, I'm just going to make it open. So that's a very easy win for me, where I can take what's already been created, add to it, enrich the data, make the tools a bit better, then just open it up and say, here you go, everybody can use it. So you are looking for easy wins like that, where it's a total no-brainer. So again, I've got another prompt. So you feed in all of the previous research about the market, about the problem clusters, the competition gaps, etc. And then you ask the AI to put together a potential wedge for you. So it's going to look through, so help me identify the one problem to solve by analyzing which problems are most frequent, most expensive, easiest to build a solution for, least well served by competitors, and create a simple 2x2 matrix. The matrix will look like this. So the AI will do this for you, and then plot each problem on the matrix. Recommend my entry point. So we are going to go for one that is here. It's high value, it's a high value problem to solve, but it's also easy to solve. It's something that we can build very, very easily. So that's where we're going to start. Again, notice that we're still not talking about products. We're talking about what problems are we going to be solving. So there are many different ways to solve a product. It could be a digital product, it could be a course, it could be a cohort, it could be consulting services, it could be a book that you write, it could be, I mean, there are so many different ways to deliver the value and to solve the problem. We're not worrying about that yet, because the truth of the matter is you'll probably solve that same problem in many, many, many different ways for different parts of your market. So all we want right now is what problem we can solve that's going to get us paid, and it's relatively easy for us to build for. Okay, that is the process. We then, I mean, I'm not going to go into this stuff. I will add all of this into the newsletter. But the next thing you have to do is, all of this is great. It's fantastic. AI can really help us structure our thinking. And we can work through this whole process with an AI, and it becomes like a co-founder. And I've given you all of the prompts on AI with Kyle, so you can grab all these prompts and run through this process yourself. Absolutely fine. However, we still have the problem that AI is relatively agreeable. It will, if you ask, is this a good idea? AI will be like, yeah, it's a great idea. We are reducing that risk by going through a process where we start with lots of ideas and then we use the AI to objectively reduce it. So that's one of the ways we're doing this in the background. We're being smart here. However, at a certain point in time, you are going to have to talk to people. You are going to have to talk to your market and find out if they are genuinely interested in this. So we've built all of this off the back of what they're writing online, but we still need to go to people and find out if they're interested. So you are going to have to talk to human beings, and you can do that with interviews. I mean, the simplest way, this is what like Y Combinator and all of those recommend, is you need to organize customer interviews. You're going to be getting on calls with people and talking to them about it and saying, hey, I'm thinking about building a solution in this marketplace. I don't have anything to sell you, but I would love to get your insight into this. This generally works because people like to give their opinions. This is a bit of an ego play. You write to somebody and you're like, hey, I see that you're a mover and shaker in this particular industry. As such, I'd love to get 5 minutes of your time to ask these questions. You give them the questions up front so they know it's kind of time limited. Make sure they know you're not selling them on anything. And then generally you'll find people will say yes, because people love to hear themselves speak. I say as somebody who's been blabbing on this live for the last half an hour non-stop. So you are going to go and talk to these people. Interviews are the best because you're face to face and you can see their reactions. You can see their emotional responses. You can listen to certain words they're using, and often it's the choice of words that kind of gives it away rather than what they're saying per se. And then as long as you ask sensible questions, you're not going to say things like, will you buy this? Because people will either, well, one, think they're being sold to, or even worse, just be nice, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it sounds like a great idea, maybe I'll buy it. That's just them being polite. So you're not going to ask them questions like that. You're going to find out things like, what is the most time consuming part of such and such a process? And then you're going to listen. You're going to listen to what frustrates them. You're going to listen to what excites them. And you're going to use that kind of sentiment in order to build in the next steps. Now, this all becomes a lot easier if you have an audience. So over the last 2 years or so, I've been building up my audience. I've got 250,000 people in my audiences across TikTok, the newsletter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, I guess LinkedIn, but I hate LinkedIn. When you have built an audience, you are able to talk to people en masse. You can say, hey, this is something I'm thinking about working on. Is this of interest to you? Or what kind of problems would this help you solve? You can directly talk to your future customers, which is really, really, really powerful. So over the last 2 years, I've built this business from scratch to over 500,000, primarily by building an audience first. So if you look at the course that we're talking about, notice that the second week is not coming up with your business idea or vibe coding your business idea. It is starting to build your audience ASAP. This is where we need to focus. You need to start talking to your audience so that you can have these conversations and you can build with them rather than without them. If you are interested in this, here's me selling, see, today we're launching the AI Authority Accelerator. So this is specifically how you can build up an audience using AI, talking to people about AI as well. And that starts today. If you're part of the newsletter, you'll get a notification about it. But it starts today. And it is, I'll tell you right now, because you can go and check it out anyway. It's £150 and it's a 30-day accelerator. So make sure you're in the newsletter and you'll get information about that. But this is the second time we've done it, and we've had some really big successes with people like Elle. We've got Jess, Tamas. These are all people who are now getting views in hundreds of thousands thanks to going through the accelerator. And of course their own hard work, because they've absolutely killed it. But we are relaunching the accelerator today if you are interested in that. Regardless, you need to build up an audience. You need to get your distribution locked down ASAP. So coming back to people like Kit Saer and Peter, who I talked about earlier, they are saying you need to start a business. Stop asking for permission, just start building. The problem here is that it's becoming so easy to build and you don't need to ask for anyone's permission. So there's no excuse not to build. But at the same time, it becoming easy to build and to create, easier than ever to start a business, is a difficulty because it means it's easy for other people. So you have an advantage right now in that you are relatively early. So you can get started, you can get out ahead of a lot of people before everyone else realizes, oh wait, I can just build software. I can just make an app. I can just make a website. This is easy. So you're a bit ahead, so that's fantastic. But the big missing part of the puzzle is still going to be distribution. You need to be able to distribute and sell to people. And that's why you need to start creating content as soon as possible, because that is the cheapest and most effective way to do it. So I get big companies coming to me, and I'm in a WhatsApp group with a bunch of other big creators. The large companies are coming to us, the content creators, for reach and distribution, and they pay very, very well for that. So Google just cut a deal apparently for 500,000 with a content creator. Not one in my group. We were all messaging each other like, is it you? Who got the deal? And it's not in our group, unfortunately. But $500,000 to talk about that AI product. As an individual, as somebody who's watching this, this is how you outmaneuver larger companies, is you create content from day one. So what you do is you do all this work that we're talking about, you run all these prompts, you then document what it is you're doing. So let's say you run through this, the prompt that we just saw, the first prompt here, which is finding 3 to 5 different markets. You would run through this, and then you'd hop on TikTok, you'd hop on Instagram, you'd hop on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, and just talk about the process. You'd be like, oh, wow, today I've locked down to 3 different markets I can potentially build in. I'm really excited to start building, but I want to work out my market first. And I used an agentic AI to go off and do the research for me, and it came back with really surprising results. Here's what it showed me. Boom, boom, boom. And that is your content. What happens here is you are getting people to join you for the journey. It also makes you carry on with the journey, because now you have people who are watching you and who are either supporting you or maybe hoping you fail. Doesn't really matter. It's going to push you forward. But you document it all, you share it. That allows you to build up an audience so that when you do launch a product, you're going to have your beta testers and you're going to have your first customers as well. And that is a really important part in this free course. Again, you don't even need an email for this. It's just aiwithkyle.com/courses. In this one, this is part 6, I think it is, we talk about beta testers and getting your first people through the door so that you can build alongside them and you get feedback in order to improve your product ASAP. So you need to do this early, because I know so many people who will go into stealth mode. They will stealth mode startup nonsense. They will build like quietly in secret for 6 months, for 12 months, wasting loads of money, not talking to anybody, and then they'll come out with this product that they've spent a year building, and nobody wants it. Nobody cares. They haven't got any distribution. Nobody's been following the story. They haven't talked to anyone about whether this is a problem that they actually need solved. And it's disheartening, because they release this thing that they've been working on for more than a year and nobody wants it. And as a psychological shock, that's what kills off most like entrepreneurs, because you work so hard on something that nobody wants and it feels like a personal attack on you. This thing that you built, that you were passionate about, that you spent a huge amount of time, the market does not care. That is what ends entrepreneurship for a lot of people. Instead, if you today come up with an idea, come up with a market, start to talk about it, what you're doing there is you're reducing the risk. You are beginning to build your audience. You're able to have a dialogue with them, your potential customers, further down the line, and it builds up some momentum. So rather than you doing everything secretly and then hitting a wall, you can have conversations from day one. And it's also more exciting as well. So I highly recommend building them in public, talking about what it is you're building. Short form video is the way to do it, because it's quicker. Once you get over yourself and the ego of being on camera and the concerns about being on camera, it's just the fastest way to create content. Having to sit down and write takes a long time, and nobody reads it, because people don't read stuff anymore. They like short form videos. So just do what people want. Don't make this complicated on yourself. Even if you like writing, doesn't matter. People want, do what people want first and foremost. Anyway, these are all the prompts. I'll put all of this in the newsletter tomorrow, so you can get all of this. I'll also give you this presentation, which was made by Notebook LM, which I absolutely love. And I'll link in the guide. Where is it? This one here, so you can follow it through yourself, plus this video itself. Just give you all of the various different resources. There is also, this is kind of related, I created a quiz which you go through, and it will help you hone in on a business idea. So you're going to click like, what industry interests you the most? So finance, health and welfare, admin and ops. So you can go, let's say education and training. Click through. Strongest skills: are they teaching, explaining, technical coding, writing and communications, creative and design, system and process? So let's say teaching and explaining. How do you prefer to deliver value? Digital content creation, for example. How much money do you want to make? Let's say, I don't know, 10,000 a month, etc. So you go through this assessment, then it's going to spit out different business ideas that you can follow as well. So I've built that for you. It will be in the newsletter tomorrow, or you go to aiwithkyle.com/tools up here, and it is the AI business quiz. It's this one here, and there's a whole bunch of other things for you to play around with there as well. Awesome. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. It's all available at aiwithkyle.com, where we're trying to get 1 million people ready for AI. And I think a big part of that is starting a business and getting some money from AI, so that you are not in such an exposed position when the job loss starts to happen. So build something. There's never been a better opportunity to do this, but you need to move on this one. And this is not false scarcity. This is, you just need to get started. If you don't know how to build, well, this course that I'm going through will show you how to. In week 4, I talk about vibe coding. I've also created a guide, all the resources. Where is it? I've created a guide just about vibe coding. There we go. What is vibe coding? And it talks about your different options, what tools you could use. I recommend Lovable as a place to start, but then you can move on to Cursor and Claude Code. So that would be the progression I would recommend. But that's, again, it's all on the website. That's all for free. And there's the progression: Lovable, Cursor, Claude Code. But that comes later. Start with your market and then work out how to build for it. Cool. I'm going to hop back over to questions, because I've been blabbering for the last half an hour. Let's see if there's what's in here. So yeah, coming back to that question of should you sell digital products on Gumroad? Yeah, maybe, but that's a later question. First, work out what's the market, what problems does that market have, and how are you going to solve those problems. Start there with the business part of it, rather than with what is my distribution method, which is digital products. Digital products are great. I'm not saying they're not at all, but that's a later question, because you might find the market you want to serve and the problems you want to solve is better solved with coaching calls, like one-to-one coaching, for example. That might be the vehicle that is best suited for solving that problem, in which case a digital product may or may not be the best thing. So you have to start with, what does my customer need, not what do I want to build. That's the biggest shift we need to make. Lyra says, I love that your mum is interested though. Yeah, she she reads the newsletter. Yeah, and I saw her on Friday and she's like, oh, how do I set up Claudebot? And immediately I was like, no, mum, don't, no, just leave it alone. Sit this one out. Oh, thank you, Lyra. On TikTok, his links at the top of the screen. Everything is on there. Simon says, the plan you're talking about is this is free on your site. Yeah, this is all free. Is this live recorded? Yes, it will be on YouTube. What about doing that could lead to someone building the same thing? It's unlikely. That said, competition is not a bad thing. So competition means that there is a market. There's multiple risks, but there are two main risks when you're starting a business. There's going to be competition risk, which is, oh, somebody is doing something similar to me, and I need to do it in a different way, or I need to do it in a better way in order to win market share from them. So that's one risk. The other risk is market risk, which is there is no market for this. That is a much bigger risk than competition risk. Competition, we can work around it. We can either niche down and serve a part of the market which has not been served yet. That's generally what we'd do early on. Or what I prefer to do is you collaborate with your competitors. So I mentioned a WhatsApp group that I'm in, which has, 20, 30 different content creators in the AI space. We don't compete. We work with each other. We help each other. So if somebody gets a paid sponsorship from such and such a company, they'll post it into the group and be like, hey, does anyone else want in on this? So it's much better to work with competitors. However, the biggest thing you need to worry about is there not being a market. So if there are competitors, if there are companies who are selling and they are successfully selling, and maybe they've been selling for years, that is a great sign, because that tells me that there is a market. That's a bigger risk. So I'd much rather enter a market where there is competition than a market where there is no competition. When you find a market where there is no competition, a few things are happening. Either one, you haven't researched it properly and there is competition. Two, people have entered the market, produced products, and then folded or closed down because there is not enough market demand. So there was competition, there were other entrants, but they decided this isn't worth my time or my money, sod this, and they left. So that tends to be the case. Or three, maybe you've found a untapped market. That tends to be the rarest. Unfortunately, people who have not started a business before, they tend to jump to that immediately and be like, ooh, what an opportunity. Whereas instead, it's probably been tried and did not work. And you've probably found a market opportunity that is not a good one. That generally tends to be the case. So competition is great. If you find a market that has companies, it has money going through it, it has customers, that's where we want to focus. We don't want to focus on something brand new, if you can even find that. I know it's a weird way to think about it, because we're all taught like, oh, find the place with no competition, but that's terrible advice. Absolutely terrible advice. Final year comp sci student, any advice? Yeah, it's a tricky one, Aaron. I would build. So I think, your final year, so you might be okay. The job market is going to be rough, and obviously with the comp science degree, that's primarily to get jobs. I would start building. Obviously you'll be doing that anyway as part of your degree. But if you can build your own products and get them out into the market. There's again part of what we've been talking about for all of this is you don't need to ask for permission. Lots of people who are going for comp sci degrees or becoming coders and programmers will be going into jobs. The job market is going to be rough, especially for junior coders, because Claude Code, now Codex, are getting really good at junior coding positions. So I think the play right now is to build, because as somebody who understands computer science, you will be able to build better than somebody who cannot. You understand security, you understand how to scale an application, you understand architecture in a way that somebody who is coming at this new does not. The person who's coming at it new will have to learn all of those things, and they're going to make costly mistakes. They will still be able to build, but you are in a better position. So I'm going to come back to Kit Saer's tweet here. I don't know who needs to read this, but stop asking people for permission to build something. Just build. So if you have an idea, go for it. And I think also you've probably seen Peter. This is Peter Steinberger. Yeah, there he is. I got him. So Peter Steinberger, he is the creator of Claude Bot / Maltbot / OpenClaw. I think this is a really useful GitHub to look at. If you go to his GitHub, OpenClaw is his most recent, and he's now blown up, and he has, this is, I think OpenClaw is the fastest growing repo of all time. It has, here we go, 178,000 stars. That is absolutely insane. So he's a guy who has created OpenClaw. He's a computer scientist, obviously, but look at all of his previous projects. Lots of people I've seen have been saying, oh, he's lucky. He's lucky that he came out with this and the internet went mad, and Alex Finn promoted it, and so Peter's very lucky, and now Peter's been flown around the world for hackathons and stuff, and it's like, good for Peter, but he's lucky. No, look at all his past projects. I did a count the other day. I think it's 47. He has built 47. Oh, he's got legacy. He's got a few more here. He has built 47 projects and released them. So build, release, build, release, build, release, build, release, until suddenly he had that hit, which was OpenClaw. He had a few other ones. I think Bird was his. Yeah, Bird was his. But he has just committed himself to, well, to building and building and building and building. That's what you need to be doing. Here's his GitHub activity. What happened here? I don't know what's happening earlier in the year. And this is OpenClaw, as you can see. So I think you're in a really good position to build and release, and not necessarily build an OpenClaw, but to get stuff into the world that the world needs. I think it's an exciting time for everyone, including computer scientists, but I would not look at the longevity of a job right now, especially as a junior coder. I would look at creating and getting stuff out there ASAP. Do you rate Gemini? Yeah. So I rate Gemini. So I'm friends with Google, so I'll be diplomatic here. I think this is fair, and anyone from Google watching this will know this. So Gemini, I do not use the Gemini text model on a day-to-day basis. I do use Nano Banana Pro, because Nano Banana Pro is phenomenal, and that's part of Gemini. However, I don't personally use Gemini on a day-to-day basis. I use generally Claude or sometimes OpenAI, but mainly Claude. The reason for that is I still find Claude to be a better model for most text and research. That said, what Google have done in the last 2 or 3 years is phenomenal. They were caught on the back foot by OpenAI because for years before the release of ChatGPT, Google were the big dog in artificial intelligence. If you watch movies like The Thinking Game and you follow the work of DeepMind, Google DeepMind, Demis Hassabis' lab, you know that they have just been plugging away, just pushing forward artificial intelligence for the last couple of decades. So they even had internal tools that were like ChatGPT before ChatGPT was released, arguably better. However, they didn't push them to market. They thought, they're not quite ready. We don't want to put something out into public which could potentially be problematic, could be dangerous, could be, get out of our hands, could damage our reputation. So they were like, we're going to sit on this for now. OpenAI had no such qualms, and they're like, peace, let's do it, YOLO. And they just launched ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, the first public release it was a bit of crap. It was a bit rubbish. So lots of people did use it at the time. They're like, oh, AI's crap. I'm not going to go and use that again. There's a hangover from that now, where you talk to some people and they tried during that first spike of interest. They tried it then, were not impressed, and haven't used it since. So that's damaged. That has damaged the reputation of the industry because OpenAI just pushed ChatGPT. That said, OpenAI caught Google on the back foot. So for the last couple of years, it's been ChatGPT all the way through. And they have become synonymous, incorrectly, with artificial intelligence. So when you say AI, people just think ChatGPT. In the same way, when you talk about search engine, people think Google. So OpenAI and ChatGPT stole a march on Google. That said, Google have, for the last few years, been slowly chugging away and doing the work. They have built an entire vertical. They own the vertical, so they build TPUs. They have the cloud infrastructure. They have data, a lot of data from Google search, from YouTube and images, map. I mean, they're a data company, basically. They have the application layer. So Google Chrome has, I think, 70% or 80% market penetration. They have Android. They have Google Workspace. They have a huge amount of users based on all of that, and they have cash. That's something OpenAI does not have. OpenAI have to keep going back to investors and saying, hey, we got 50 billion. Hey, I need $200 billion. So they're in a more precarious position. Google have instead moved a bit slower. They've been playing catch up for the last couple of years, but they have everything on lock and they have money. So they will be able to keep going where OpenAI will potentially get in trouble. This is why OpenAI have introduced adverts as well, because they need to get that revenue starting to come in. So I think Google are in a position to take over. I think Gemini will probably surpass ChatGPT in a couple of years. I think Gemini 3 and Gemini 3 Pro in particular, very, very, very good models. I just haven't moved off Claude because it requires them to not just be as good as Claude, but to be superior. Because there's a big changing cost, a switching cost going from one platform to another, because you have your projects, you have your memory, you have, work patterns. You think with one AI, so moving to another AI model is quite difficult. So I personally haven't. That said, I highly rate what they've done. I think it's a really, really good model, and that I wouldn't be surprised if over the next year, 2 years, they surpass ChatGPT. We already got that the other day. Let's see if we can pull up the... they did their quarterly report, and apparently Gemini is used by, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it. Apparently Gemini is used by 750 million people every month. And compare that to 900 million for ChatGPT. If that's the case, Gemini is catching up very, 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 very quickly, and they'll probably surpass ChatGPT this year. So I think they're one to watch, but I don't personally use Gemini myself, but I think it's extremely good. Yeah, I thought building on Gemini might be a good idea. Everything in one place. Yep. And the other pro with Gemini is that it's integrated into Google Workspace as well. So what Microsoft is trying to do with Copilot, have Copilot at the kind of center of your business's operations, your enterprise operations. Microsoft haven't really pulled it off because Copilot's not very good. Whereas Google are doing the same thing, but they're doing it with a good model inside, because Gemini 3 is a good model. And Gemini is going to be the basis of Siri as well. So they are doing some amazing work, some really amazing work over there. Awesome. Right, I'm probably going to get kicked off TikTok. Oh no. Generally, when I go over an hour, it threatens to kick me off. So today we went through a presentation talking about how you can work out what market you should be serving with your AI product, with your AI service, whatever it is. How can you find where to build a business? You start with working out what the business is. You don't start with AI. AI is what we're going to be using later, but first we still need to ground this in business. So all of this will be in the newsletter tomorrow. If you come to aiwithkyle.com, you can sign up for free. You'll get the guide that I've just covered today. So you'll get the edited video version, you'll get the slide deck, you'll get the written full guide as well. which is on here. So you're going to get absolutely everything inside the newsletter tomorrow. That is free to sign up, so make sure you come along and sign up. And yeah, awesome. So aiwithkyle.com. Again, we are launching the AI Authority Accelerator today. So if you want to join that, that starts today. It's £150 for 30 days, and I'm going to be showing you how you can start getting into content creation. So if you've ever wanted to do short videos, talk to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, etc., in order to build an audience, in order to drive your business, that's what we'll be talking about all of this month. It is not to become an influencer. It is not to, become an IG model or anything like that. It is instead to drive your business. It's for B2C and B2B sales. So we're going to be using content to drive sales, to build a business. Subtle but very important distinction. So if you're interested in that, also join the newsletter and you'll be able to join up today. We start today, so the deadline is midnight tonight, so about 12 hours from now. Awesome. Thank you guys. And I will see you tomorrow.